Thank you so much to you all for being here. It's such a beautiful morning, and that was quite an inspiring panel just before. This panel is on promoting your gig, which of course, since, very similar to touring, has changed a lot since 2020. So we're going to be discussing ways of promoting your gig and getting through so much music being out there. But before we get into it, I'd love to welcome the panel and get them to introduce themselves to you and tell us what you do to help promote music, or what your role is involved in promoting music. Chris Cudby from Under the Radar.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you. Yes, I'm from undertheradar.co.nz. We're a local events ticketing website, mainly ticketing live music events. We also do local music news, and we have a free gig guide. Those are the kind of three prongs of Under the Radar, and those are all kind of intermeshed. And my role with the website is I'm the music news editor.
Excellent. Chris is also a talented musician, so might throw in some other ideas to add to that too.
I played a gig or two.
Lee from Spotify, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Leah. I lead the artist and label partnerships for Australia and New Zealand. So what that means is that I have a team that have all the relationships with labels, distributors, industry, managers, artists, and we work with artists to make sure that we know what's going on with release plans and trying to help you find your audience on Spotify, both in New Zealand, in Australia, and especially abroad as well.
Awesome. Lots of people probably don't click that you can promote your gig on Spotify.
Yeah, there's a few new things.
We'll find
really
out
cool.
them soon. Stella-Rae from RadioActive.
Kia ora, I'm Stella-Rae. I've come all the way up from Te Whanganui Tara. I'm the programming director at RadioActive, the SRN station. Anything you guys seem radioactive, I got my eyes on it. So
I imagine you get a lot of music sent to you, so we'll find out how to break through very soon. Kia ora, hello.
Kia ora.
Please introduce yourself.
Yep. My name is Nela. I work for a little clothing company called AS Colour, and I don't do anything to promote it. We just provide the blanks, and everybody uses our blanks to put their branding on it and use that to promote their merch. So I call myself a brand rep because the sales rep tag feels a little bit cheesy for us, and I'm aware that AS Colour sells itself. So brand rep means I just go out there and just represent the brand as best as possible, and we help people promote their brands.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll find out how to do that more soon. And Heidi?
Thanks, Charlotte. Kia ora, everybody. I am Heidi Ettema. I own and work for Broken Record Publicity. I'm a music publicist based here in Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland. Do the PR for Equals Entertainment, all their touring artists. The Mushroom Group, an Australian-based record label, and independent artists as well. So great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Heidi, I might start off with you. When one is thinking about promoting a gig or putting on a gig, when should they contact a publicist, or what's the first step to even think about promoting a show?
I think the earlier the better. There's not a lot of music publicists here in New Zealand, and I think just as the first step would be to get in touch with somebody and give them as much time as you can. Like there's some bands that got in touch with me last year about like an album that's coming out this year. So first and foremost, the more time the better, and maybe even think about whether you need a publicist for your gig, which if you're playing a small one-off show, perhaps you don't. Might be able to handle that by yourself. But if it's a larger tour, and you might be going right throughout the country or doing a few big dates, you might need a hand in kind of publicising that. So.
Mm. So what's the role of some people might know, but for those who don't, what does a publicist do if we employed you to promote our gig?
I I think we act as a bit of a swivel person between the artist and media. If you think about netball, you know, when you pivot, you get the ball, so you get all the information and what you're going to publicise from the artist, you pivot and you feed that out to media. And some artists can do this themselves, but, you know, a lot of artists get to a point where they need to focus on their music and what they do. So, we kind of act as that swivel person between an artist and media.
Yeah. And jumping then to media, Chris from Under the Radar and Stella-Rae from RadioActive, you must get sent music all the time. How do you stand out? How does an artist stand out if they want to get in touch with you?
I think your PR, your press release is really important. Everything, give us all your links. We want to see what you've been up to. We want to see who's playing, what their vibe is, anything and everything. I think more information is better. As I said, we want to know everything. And
when you say more information, just to push that, would you say, you know, this is my single, it's coming off my album on this date? Like, how much detail do you give?
all of it.
All of it.
All of it. It's quite funny because we usually get all these awesome emails from Heidi. And she is giving us when the album is coming out, what the focus track is, what we could promote through radio, whether they're doing a tour, if they're doing a show in Wellington, we so want them on the airwaves. Maybe if they're not doing a tour and coming to Wellington, we want to know about the release. Little blurb. Yeah. What would you say?
Like what stands out? Yeah, that's an interesting one. Anything that kind of has like that kind of synergy between a release and a live show on like is always really good.
So if you're releasing and playing at the same time, double prong.
Because then you've got like a reason to pay attention to a show. Like you could play a show, and there's gigs that happen all the time that are just kind of free floating gigs, and they're really fun. But there's no real reason to bang the drum about it unless it's from somebody from like out of town or something like that. Things that can cut through that I've noticed recently include where groups will kind of band together to make like a mini kind of festival kind of format, like things like that, like some kind of hook, like beyond just being like a really great musician as well. But yeah, as you were saying, we do need as much info as possible, all in one shot as well.
Not just a cool creative email with a cool link or anything.
Well, if it seems really cool, then that's really great. But yeah, beyond that, we do need. There's that EPK info in the Maybook, which is
yes, actually, we were just reading that.
Well.
Some really good information in this book about promoting your gig.
Yeah, absolutely refer to that.
Leah, this morning I got a message from my Spotify telling me that Tammy Nielsen is going on tour.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's what we want to
see. Did everyone get that?
It's because you are listening to that artist. Yeah, so I think being really aware of the information that you're, as an artist team, putting into Spotify for Artists and making sure places like Bands in Town, Songkick, all those platforms that feed information into Spotify, we then use the audience affinity and then start targeting based on your location. So if you are a follower of an artist, you're based in Auckland, they're playing that week, you're likely to get targeted with messages either in the app when you're listening to the artist, or you might, if you've opted into emails and being open to targeting, we would send emails as well. So yeah, trying to pull that all together, and that's something that you will have control of. It's us taking information, finding audience information and putting it together.
It's very clever. Does it work for only big artists like Tammy?
As long as you're listing your show on and if you search Spotify for artists and look at ticketing partners and venue partners, if you're listing it, say, Bands in Town, making sure that all your details there are correct, then it will automatically pull through to Spotify. You could be the smallest artist with very little following, and it's still going to do the same thing for your listeners.
Were you going to say something, Heidi?
Yeah, but Leah answered it, so
Sorry.
that's fine.
Oh, that's so good. When one goes onto Spotify, is it quite easy for them to do? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So in February this year, we changed the back end a little bit in Spotify for artists. So it now has a live events and merch section where you can fill in details about your gig and what you're doing as well. And then you can also link the ticketing partner. So not only does it display that, hey, Marlon Williams is playing at Spark Arena in June, July, if he also has the ticketing link in there, you click through, you go straight to the ticketing partner to purchase. We don't take a cut of that. That's just going straight to the ticketing partner as well. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. Is Spotify working on any sort of, what's the future, do you think, of Spotify in terms of promoting an artist?
Yeah, I think we're going to get more sophisticated at that and provide more resources to be selling tickets and telling people about tickets, potentially more things around tools that you can use in like a marketing spend as well to target audiences, but we're not quite there yet.
Interesting. Spending money on Spotify to market. Nela, what do we think when we are wanting to get AS Colour involved for merchandise to promote a show? I mean, is it worth just promoting a show, or if we're investing, should we more promote the artist brand?
Yeah, I think definitely promote the show so that people come to the show. But I think also promoting the your brand and who you are is super important as well. If you can see my hat, I'm wearing a Sky Pirates hat, which is Lucky Lance's brand. Now, I coach basketball outside of work, and there's a whole lot of kids that come to training and they're wearing a Sky Pirates hoodie or a hat or a T-shirt, and I'll often ask them, like, oh, do you listen to Lucky Lance, or would you? They're like, oh no, we just like the brand. So Lance has done a great job promoting his Sky Pirates. So I think that's where we come in is just providing the blank canvas, and it's up to the artists to express themselves on those canvases, whether it's a T-shirt or a hoodie. We do everything to our fastest growing category is headwear now. So using hats, because hats are easily visible. Sometimes when you're taking a photo of a headshot, so you'll see the hat. Sometimes you'll miss the hoodie or maybe the graphic because you're only getting this part up. So hats are great. But yeah, I think.
And can you make much money off hats? Because I know T-shirts you can make a bit of money on.
You can. The short answer is yes.
Yes. Oh, that's so interesting. What sort of hats? All sorts.
All sorts. I mean, I've got like your traditional sort of baseball style hat because we've branched out into the US now. It's our biggest market for AS Colour. So this is super popular. The low profile hat that Chris has got on there. Those are also very popular as well. But it's really up to the artist and I suppose who they're trying to target as well in their audience. But we've got an extensive range of hats, so we can cater to everybody.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's so cool. People. Oh, actually, I want to go back to Spotify because I think this is sticking in my head. But yeah, are there any other suggestions that you would encourage bands to do when they've got a gig on?
Yeah, there's a few things. I'm going to say a word that my team laughs at me a lot for saying, but I would say make sure you are really up to date with your profile hygiene. So you're really in Spotify for Artists, making sure that all of your details are correct and thinking about what tools you're using on Spotify at the right time. So some of you might have access to things like clips and Canvas, which you could be uploading clip videos to show the live experience. So when someone's on your profile on Spotify, they can see what it looks like and feels like when they're listening to you. Also thinking about things like your own playlist that you can pin as an artist pick. So it's the first thing that an audience member may see. That might be your set list that, we're finding that especially younger audiences absolutely want to binge the set list before they go to a show. Now, you might have different opinions on whether you want your set to be a surprise and that kind of thing, but we're finding that as well. And then the other thing is making sure that you are encouraging people to follow you on Spotify. So if you walk away out of this room with the one piece of advice from me is making sure that you're directing people to follow you on Spotify, because then we use that indication to be serving up information to potential audiences. So a good example is that if someone's following you, we'll use that in our more algorithmic sets for playlists. So there's a new playlist out called Concerts Near You, and that updates every Wednesday, and it basically takes who you're following and where you are in the world and serves you up a playlist with information about where you can see that artist, where you can buy tickets. So that launched a couple of months ago. We're doing a whole bunch of marketing around that, but it's just trying to put it in front of people, as we did all this research and everyone goes, I want to see a gig, but I didn't know it was on. And looking to Spotify to provide that info. So that's some of the stuff we're doing.
That's awesome. Heidi, you promote a lot of bands, and because of your experience being a publicist, you've got good connections with media, but there must be times where you even struggle to sort of get it through or, get coverage for an artist. Yeah, have you got any ways that you break through or any tricks, to get that attention?
Yeah, I think particularly in a shrinking media industry, it can be really tricky to get coverage possibly in places that you may have done before. And look, I think having a good story alongside your music or, perhaps your gig is really important. It's almost as important a lot of the time as the music itself. But yeah, I think sending off an email is a good thing to do. Maybe if you haven't heard back, follow up within a few days. Hey, have you, had a chance to look at this? And yeah, don't be afraid to send a follow-up, I think would be my best piece of advice. There we go, getting the thumbs up. Yeah. Well, you guys have got stacked inboxes, I would imagine, and some days just get away on you and you might not get to something that you meant to. So, yeah, don't be afraid to send a follow-up, but also, yeah, have a think about what your story around either your song or, maybe why you're going to a specific region on tour is important as well. So, we see, like, for example, recently we did a big tour with Supergroove who went to a lot of the regions. And, man, the regional press went crazy for it. And that was really cool because, that tour sort of got a lot of momentum just because it's Supergroove and they don't tour, and it was friggin' awesome. But, like for particularly media in the regions, local radio, local newspapers, like they don't get the big shows that Auckland get. And so they're often really willing to talk to particularly local musicians about, why they're coming there. Yeah.
And if a musician's sitting in this room and they were going to, say, I don't know, Nelson for the first time to perform, where do they start to find out where the local press is? Or is there a diary, or not a diary, what do you call it? Like a resource? Yeah.
I want to say maybe Music Commission has a resource, maybe. Or Google, like local Nelson newspaper, and that will often have a contact for, either an editor or, have a look at different journalists and what stories they may have written before. So if someone has written about, a couple of art stories for that particular paper, maybe hit that journalist up with your pitch. Same with local radio. Most outlets have contact details on their website. So yeah.
Stella-Rae, can I throw to you? Because radio these days, if an artist is going on a tour, wants to promote a gig, I guess they could pitch you to play their song. What are other avenues that RadioActive could help? Interviews?
Yeah, interviews. I'm pretty sure a lot of the other SRN stations have this as well, but a bit of a activity guide, community notices. It sounds kind of lame, but it works. People are listening, and potentially even fans that don't know that they're fans yet, looking for something to do on a Friday night, looking for something to do on a Saturday night. yeah, don't be shy to hit those people up.
Do you have any thoughts on the kind of point that Heidi and Chris brought up about the story? Like, does that work for you? If someone explains a deeper meaning to their project, does that stand out?
Most definitely. I think kaupapa sparks people's interest, and if there's a background, I'm going to be paying a little bit more attention to kind of try and pick that up. And I find even if it's not my personal taste in music, I really want to hear the story. And I feel like some artists are really good at bringing you into a space, into that story, when maybe that's not even your thing, but you turn up to the event and now you're a part of it. And now you love them, you know? Yeah, super important.
Have any of you guys got examples of stories? Or, just if someone's sort of thinking, what do I tell them about my, dead grandma? Or like, how deep do they go, to get that attention?
I think first and foremost, as an artist, think about your own personal boundaries. So there might be stuff that you have put into a song or whatever, but you aren't actually willing to share. And it can sometimes, when an interview gets rolling and then all of a sudden you've shared what you didn't mean to, just be wary of that if you have some stuff that you're not quite willing to share. But in saying that, like, a good example from somebody recently would be Marlon Williams and his Te Whariti Weka Weka. I mean, he let the camera crews, he let everyone in with the doco as well. So that was a really vulnerable, beautiful story. And I know he's out on tour at the moment. The shows are going really well and album went to #1. The doco's going great. So I think that's a good example of him being vulnerable, letting everybody in on his Te Reo Māori journey. Yeah.
And that was quite obvious through his press release, right? Like I got the whole picture of where he was coming from with this song and what this song meant to him. I think that's a great example.
And so, part of that success, I guess, is that it's album and tour at the same time and great story.
Yes, yeah. And I think, again, somebody once told me the first rule of promoting is having something to promote. And for Marlon, that was his album and going out on the road. One thing I would say as well is if you are doing a bunch of interviews to promote your gig or your tour alongside your single or your album, don't forget to talk about your tour in the interviews. It's happened before where, you'll get you'll get on a roll about, the single and this production and we recorded it here and this person jumped in, and all of a sudden it'll get to the end of the interview and it'll be like, oh shit, I forgot to talk about my show, my release show. So that's both on, me as a publicist to make sure that whoever's doing the interview knows, hey, there's a show we need to sell tickets to, but also, keep that in the back of your mind as an artist as well. Yeah.
Have any of you experienced or are experienced with promoting gigs on Instagram or TikTok? Any thoughts on that?
I'm not really sure about TikTok. I'm not used to TikTok my life away. I had to delete it. But on Instagram, I think that's where everyone's on Instagram. And you can market it so the right kinds of people, right kind of demographic that you're trying to aim for can see it. I think Instagram is a really awesome tool for promoting gigs and stories, and even on the day of the show being like, we're getting ready. And, or like, this is, last practice before the show. Like, I think even though it can kind of seem like you're being a bit annoying sometimes by posting all this stuff to Instagram, at the end of the day, there are people doom scrolling, watching that. So...
And I should definitely say that collaborative posts are having a really good cut through at the moment, which is when you're kind of synergizing with everybody, all of your partners all at once. So you're reaching the feeds of not just your own fans, but also all of your partners that you've invited to collaborate. It's been super useful for kind of breaking out of your own sort of personal social bubbles.
Bubble.
But yeah, beyond...
Could an artist do that? Sorry to interrupt. Could an artist do that with Under the Radar? If I wanted
Absolutely.
to announce my tour exclusively with you guys.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's something that we do. But beyond that, even before sending out promo, I just really encourage artists to optimize every free resource that's available. If this is like a significant announcement that you're making and you want people to come, then please, list your gig on all the free gig guides that are around, Student Radio, On the Radar. We do it nationwide, and it lets people outside of your sphere know. It gives them the opportunity to find out about your stuff. So, like people who are visiting Auckland can look at the gig guide and instantly see that there's some stuff, and then they can click around and they can figure out if they want to go to it or not. Not every artist is interested in breaking out of and communicating outside of their sphere, and that's fine too. But if you want to communicate outside of your own networks, then use every free resource that's available.
Could I ask you a question,
Yeah.
Chris? Why do you think artists aren't open to being outside of their kind of insular?
Oh, well, I mean, that can be actually part of their practice.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of Coco Solid wants to speak to a specific community, for example, and whereas I'm trying to think of a counterexample. That's embedded into the music and the artistic practice itself. So doing a bunch of promo or marketing spend wouldn't be really a factor in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I ask because sometimes when I'm digging through music, I come across artists that don't hit us up for promo or gigs that are happening that I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, I want this to be on the airwaves.
Another example might just be a band that's going through a really popular phase at the moment. So they are just getting tons of appreciation from social media, and that's snowballing, and that's kind of fun. In those kinds of situations, I'd still encourage artists to reach out outside of that. Yeah.
Can I just add one little thing about promoting on kind of social media? If you have a click to buy tickets, just a little practical thing, make sure it actually goes to your event page, not the ticketing, not just ticketmaster.co.nz or the main platform. I think having a link where it actually goes to your event so people don't go onto the main homepage and then go, oh, actually, I'm going to go to that show instead. I think that's important. Yeah.
Good call. Sorry, I've just totally lost my thought with that. So you have to actually you've got to sit down and spend a bit of time because all those listings take quite a while. But as long as you do that and the band's in town and everything, then it flows into Spotify. Yeah, and works well. Any other tips, Spotify tips for promoting a gig?
I think that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a streaming listening platform, so we're not in the space of being a promoter or being a venue. But I guess when you're thinking about, we are the platform people are listening to your music on. So what can you do to provide context about who you are, what you're about, where you want to go, and using all those tools. People are already on the platform. So if they're doom scrolling on TikTok, they're not in an intentional mode of really discovering new music. They might still discover new music while scrolling, but when they're on a streaming platform, they're there to listen to music. So what can you do? Making sure even that your merch and everything is integrated. Is that merch the same as the one you're going to sell on tour? Or is it a little bit different? Is it a little bit exclusive for the people that really dig and find it? You can be really smart about it.
Yeah. What would you say to the merch doing different brands or different styles, exclusive? Do you ever sort of encourage exclusive one-offs and things?
You want them to be unique, but not to the point where people shy away from buying it. So I think for us, it's.
Do you mean
just-
not too crazy, not wacky colours?
Yeah, we do encourage them to express themselves because that's them being genuine to them, and that helps to promote them as a brand and their music as well. I think for us, we've just made sure that whatever they put out is, something that they think is going to sell as well. Because, you can be as unique as you want, but like it's got to sell as well.
What does sell well? Is there an obvious thing like black t-shirts sell better than white, or is there any?
Yeah, it's always black t-shirt. So
Black t-shirt?
yeah, black t-shirt. Our staple t-shirt, which is probably our best-selling t-shirt, we've got about 79 colours, but black always outsells everything. You can combine all the other colours, and black will be still the number one in terms of sales. So yeah, black and white.
Yeah. And any other tips we should think of if we're making merch, like in terms of logos or colours?
Yeah, in terms of logos, it's the placement's always the front chest or also the back print. A lot of people do if they're doing a big tour, they'll list all the dates and the stops on the back. So like if they're doing a nationwide tour, then they'll take all those tees with them. And it does become quite expensive freight-wise. But there are different techniques for branding t-shirts now. So the traditional style was just a screen print the t-shirt. But now there's a new way of printing, which is you pretty much print your artwork onto a film. And those film, you can just print like 100 of those films and just have blank t-shirts ready. So you'll see later on this afternoon when the crew come through and we do the live printing on the hats and the totes, how that looks. So it's just a film with your brand on it, and then you can just print on the spot.
And does that make it cheaper? Because I remember in the old days, you sort of had to get a certain amount, do a certain amount to make it worthwhile financially.
It does make it cheaper because you don't have to print the t-shirts before you show up to the venue. So if you have the capacity to take a printer with you and print on the spot, because if you take all those t-shirts printed and you don't sell them, they're then yours. Whereas if you work with us or whoever you're dealing with, we can say whatever t-shirts you don't print, we'll take them back and we'll refund you your money, and then at least you're not losing out completely. And then by the end of the tour, you've got a couple of hundred t-shirts sitting in somebody's garage that isn't going to go anywhere.
Bad colour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One of 79.
Yeah. So, but yes, there's different ways, and there's different ways of taking the merch with you. And we're in 5 regions now, and we've done that strategically for the music industry. So when artists are touring, we can service them here in New Zealand, Australia, the US, which is now our biggest market, in the UK, and we launched in Amsterdam last November. So we're in mainland Europe now. So
Incredible.
if anyone's touring,
so
reach out. We can help you with your merch.
And we'd just give you it and then pick up the merch over in Germany, or where?
Yeah, well, we've got warehouses located in each region. So you just tell us what you need. We'll just put you in touch with one of our contacts over there, and they'll organise the t-shirts for you, put you in touch with a printer over there. Saves you having to print it all here and take it up there, because that's probably half your airfare right there.
Yeah.
Freighting everything over.
But also, the communication, trying to sort it and trust that they'll get the right thing, that's great. I remembered my question I was going to ask before. Do Facebook events still work? Remember how we used to create the event? We can't really trust the numbers of people that say they're coming now, can we?
Yeah, I think we still do them for every event. What Equals still does them for every event. I think at least it's a good sort of indicator. If no one clicks attending, you might be in trouble. But no, I don't know that it's. I actually don't know that it ever was. If you click going, you're 100% going. But I think at the very least, people are kind of on Facebook, and at least if they've clicked going, then it kind of keeps, going, oh, this is coming up or whatever. So, I still think, again, it's something free that you can do that costs nothing. So
I think it's good because you're thinking about the age of your audience as well. Like Facebook is older, really. TikTok is younger. So I think it's worth having a Facebook event, even if you're going, well, I'm targeting people that's in an older age demographic, and I've covered it. So, cool.
And perhaps once again, that's another place you can collab with maybe the venue, a presenter, support band. So it's kind of hitting that whole world again, or their world, sorry.
I think Facebook events are awesome. They work really, really well in Wellington, and we get heaps of people. Even if you're not pressing going, I'm interested, and I want to see what who's posting to the event. I think that can be really awesome. If I'm just interested, I'm still like on the fence about going, and then you post this awesome video of the opening band, I'm going to be like, well, that's where I want to be.
So do you reckon that different regional areas use social media differently?
I'm not sure. I'm really
These
not
tools.
too sure. But in Wellington, and a lot of the people in my circles kind of rely on Facebook events to, if not Instagram, and if your mates aren't playing a gig, looking for something new. Even if you want to go to a salsa class,
I think I remember like 10 years ago, more than that, I did a tour over in Europe, and at that time people were like, oh, you have to do everything on Twitter because everyone in Europe does everything on Twitter, and so if you do your thing on Facebook, nobody's going to pay any attention. So yeah, it is good to constantly be updating everything and just be aware of how everything's changing. For example, we under the radar stopped using Twitter. We just don't use it anymore. Like Elon can get fucked.
Good, congratulations.
It's over. Yeah, it was really useful up until about a year ago.
Yeah, well done. Because the other thing is you guys were early adopters on Twitter, so you would have had a big following as well.
Well, even then, like Twitter as a tool was good mainly for communicating with other media outlets. So it's useful for media to communicate with other media. In terms of clicks through, it was never that great. Facebook and Instagram, for under the radar stuff, Facebook and Instagram are the main drivers, particularly Facebook, but because we have the gig guide, we have a lot of natural traffic to the site. So having our news stories get read, like by people who are coming over to find out what shows are on. Yeah, so there you've got like that natural synergy happening straight away.
I love it. Before we go to the audience questions, I wonder if any of you have got experience with promoting a gig. Perhaps one thing that you'll never ever do again, like one. Chris, that mic went up.
Yeah, no. Be strategic about when you even book your shows. Like, I personally did a tour ages ago where we played in Dunedin when the university was on holiday. So it was a great show. Yeah, don't do that.
Okay. That's hard though, because I think Juno is a local artist. She's got this awesome gig, but it's next Thursday, which is the same night as the Music Awards. But she booked it ages. It's hard to find out, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost like dice roll stuff. Like you just don't know, and sometimes you just got to take on the chin that you're playing the same night as like a group that's like what you're doing, but 10 times more popular. Like, but you can still have a great show either way. Yeah.
Don't assume anything, I think. Like, don't assume something's going to go really well because, there might be something on the same night or, you just never know, especially in today's climate, like, particularly post-COVID. Nothing's a given. And I think, you kind of have to work for every ticket sale. That would be my piece of advice, yeah.
I think I mentioned it before. I think the pre-printing T-shirts it's an old school way of doing it, but it's almost a guess. If I can just talk about a recent tour that he ended up canning half of his tour, Drake. So he had all of his merch ready to go, but then he left and went home. So there's a whole bunch of stock that's just sitting there for that tour that's not going to go anywhere. So yeah, so it's
So he was still thinking old school. He didn't get your printer.
No, well, that's right. So he didn't talk to us. Well, he did talk to us about using our T-shirts and our hoodies.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the printing, I think he he thought he was in a good space until Kendrick won 5 Grammys for that diss track. And then he was like, okay, I'm going home.
So is all the stock in Australia?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
And then went home.
Wow. Any other thoughts as we wrap up? Anything, Stella-Rae, any sort of final parting?
Most definitely, most importantly, pay your artists and pay the people who are helping you put this gig on. Don't assume that your mates will, I mean, sometimes your mates will do it for free, but you know, koha is really nice. Showing them that you appreciate them. If you can't pay as much, but I think for promoters, like if you expected way more people to come to your show and you didn't sell as many tickets, you're at a loss and you should pay the artists.
I've been aiming to keep positive for this whole thing, but I do have one big please do not, and that is please do not use AI in any part of your promo. Don't use AI in the imagery. Definitely don't use it in the writing, because we can tell. And it shows, if you do, it shows that you don't care about what you're doing and you don't care about the people who are receiving your art. Like, so please don't do it.
It's kind of like that, yeah. Be your most authentic self as well, I guess, yeah. And Leah, any final thoughts from you before we take questions?
I think I've yapped enough from the streaming world.
I love it. Have we got any questions? Oh, there's a few. Hang on. Have I thrown to the questions a bit early? No? No?
We've seen a very big pickup in like 18-year-old fresh bands. We're like, how do you get your gig out? Why is it your gig sold out? And they're like, I just group messaged all my friends, which feels very old school. Do you reckon that'll come back in your local music scene to just be like, pile all your friends together and be like, hello, come to my gig or else?
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think there's a few younger artists that I work with as well who, same thing, like I'm thinking of a band from Wellington in particular. They came to me a while ago about doing PR and I said, look, get some runs on the board first, just play. And they did that. And initially it was all their friends coming to the shows, and then all of a sudden, that's where I think word of mouth is really important, particularly, you know, if you're good, people will be talking about your show. One thing I would say with that is it kind of gets to a point where maybe you've put your mates on the door for free. It'll get to a point where you're like, oh, we actually need to make some money now. So don't once that happens, you know, I think don't be afraid to tell your friends they need to pay for their ticket, particularly if it's a $5-10 show.
Yeah, I should say that peer pressure is a very powerful tool. Use it wisely, but also, I've seen many acts get started from that basis.
I think it's a great way to start, you know, cutting your teeth live and we've seen artists as well who may have a couple of million streams to their name, but like selling a ticket is really hard. I think gigging and playing shows is probably one of the most authentic ways you can build your fan base. Aussies do it real well, like the regional circuit, you know, like it's such a big touring circuit, and playing shows, cutting your teeth, it's great. Yeah,
I don't know if any of you guys registered to a Lord WhatsApp group, but I now get messages from her on this WhatsApp group that feel quite personal, and they're voice messages as well. But I guess that's kind of like, yeah, they're quite strange, but that's her way of...
Hey, Charlotte, how you going?
No, it's like that. She's like, I'm just putting on my makeup and reflecting on last night. You know,
Instagram also has the broadcast channels as well, so people can opt
like
in.
That.
Yeah.
Right, but that's a total another way to get your mates to your gig.
Or make people feel like they're your mates, like that kind of personal connection, particularly when you're one of the biggest pop artists in the world. Like that's a really kind of great sort of thing to walk, or great little path to walk for her, bringing it back to that personal connection, yeah.
I've seen promoters put on their Instagram stories, hey, would love to get some people on board to push this show. And I remember kind of seeing those pop up and being like, isn't that the promoter's job to do that? But I think, and I saw in the story, it was like, we'll give you a spot on the door if you tell all your mates to come, if you get a good crowd to come in. I feel like that still sits a bit weirdly with me, but it works. And you're getting your community involved, If someone asks for help and you can help, it feels great. And then I get to go to the show.
That reminds me a little bit of the thing that we had in the noughties with the emo bands would have a street team.
teams.
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
Got in the password to get in. And
Wait, what was that?
A street team. I don't really know. What did a street team
A
do?
street team was like a fan club, I guess. It's like a fan club. Was it? I think so. And it's like you'd give them little bites of information, and they'd share that information about. So then they would feel really proud because they've got the info. Yeah.
We've got some more questions.
Oh, sorry. I'm reflecting on street
Am I
teams.
interrupting something? Because it sounds like you guys have a big conversation on the stage right now. Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm speaking on behalf of some artists. This is a question for Leah, actually. There's like this section on the new Discovery page when you look up for a song where you can like look for certain genres and it appears to be clips. Do you think that clips could be used as like a new way for promoting your gig?
100%.
Like,
yes.
could there be any limits towards that without it being like a new media like platform? Because you said that you guys aren't like a media platform for that reason.
I think for clips you can be uploading and then you're tagging the track as well for your clip. So in the release phase you might have a clip that's about you in the studio or writing or something like that. Then you could replace that clip for that track during your live set. So, and then we use that video in more discovery moments as well, in your home feed, in your live events feed, which is also a thing too. So we're using that content a lot. So if you have access to clips, use it and think about how you use it. I know it's another video format to do though. So you've got everything off platform and then you're thinking about what's the right video content on Spotify. But think about which time in your release cycle that you can use it really well. It's smart.
All right, so the question I have is that I've heard from a lot of younger people, especially high schoolers, that with the shutdown of the underground, there's less all ages venues, and a lot of them are very annoyed about that. So is there a way they can get around that? How else would they be able to promote their shows, high school bands specifically?
Yeah, that's a real problem. The underground was such a great scene, but I think there was a lot of security problems around it. I understand, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, Lucy McRae confirmed that Whammy, Double Whammy, are looking and working with Auckland City Council on a licence for them to start doing all ages shows.
They've already started doing all ages shows. Yeah. I know that the all ages punk community is very active as well in a variety of venues.
Old Folks Association.
Oh yeah, not just that. That does tend to be the more extreme metal and hardcore punk kind of stuff as well. Yeah, it's a bit of a get a community together in, but everyone needs a place to play.
Definitely. Auckland City Council, we've been on their back a little bit recently because there's so many halls out there that aren't being used or we don't know how to access them. Yeah, there's lots of places. And again, head to this book because there will be lots of contacts and things. This book.
Kia ora, te pai, kia ora. I just wanted to ask, like, if you guys had, like, maybe as people that like respond to a lot of emails, perhaps from artists, so on, just like different inclinations to respond to like more casually toned emails. Like, for example, if someone's like, "Oh, yeah, Chill the Brothers just got an EP coming out, and then like, you know, that kind of approach. Is there a kind of different inclination that you guys have in responding to those kinds of tones of emails? Yo.
I think as long as all your information is there, that's cool. You're being yourself. You know, if you had hit up Heidi to promote your show, I wouldn't expect, Chirka's kind of email. No, but like it's a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's probably, student radio might be a bit different to commercial radio in that sense as well. I don't know. I don't want to speak on behalf, but I kind of agree. Like if, someone was like, yeah.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Once you've got us actually reading the email, like it doesn't really matter. Like the tone really doesn't matter. Yeah, just whatever. As long as the thing that you're sending us is actually interesting and relevant.
Good afternoon. Today we've talked a lot about digital marketing and merchandise to build long-standing brand relationships. Is there still any value in hard print stickered posters around cities, do you think?
100%, yes. Yep, that's a big part of the fabric of local music culture. People do actually find out about stuff from those, including myself personally. I walk along K Road every morning to work, and I'm always finding out about great shows every day through that. And likewise with merch, you see it embeds in your mind. I kind of have observed that it's good to have the information in multiple different spaces, and that's how it kind of ends up sticking with you, I think.
Yeah, exactly that. I think it's the sum of all parts. Another thing we haven't really touched on is radio advertising. We do a lot through student radio and particularly here in Auckland with BFM. For example, we had Voom play at Double Whammy last night, and pretty sure I heard a Voom song on the hour every hour yesterday. But that, as well as, ad campaigns, if you've got budget for that, I think all of those things are, like you said, Chris, it's kind of the sum of all parts. And yeah.
In Wellington, lots of musicians and bands are making stickers and slapping them on everything, which is so much fun. Also kind of like vandalism sometimes. But it is, I think stickers are awesome, especially if you're giving them out. I love stickers, so do more of that.
Yeah, do be careful about where you put up your poster, because we've had some artists been stung quite recently as well. So words of the wise. Being contacted by, I think it was Auckland Council, graffiti cleanup crew, and they had to take down all their posters at some really weird time.
Okay, that's been such a great session. We could chat all day. The next session, which starts in 5 minutes straight after us, is called Putting Together the Show. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thanks so much to the panellists.